Hello, everybody. Happy Friday night. It is another, once again, installment of the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. I am, of course, your host, Justin Bienvenu. And if you remember last week, I said that tonight's topic is going to be the Roswell incident. So get your tinfoil hats ready because this one is indeed quite a mystery. For those that don't know what the Roswell incident is, I will just give you a brief rundown, followed by a couple of other facts that have to go along with it, as well as pretty much everything that I discuss will then be broken down into certain. It'll all be broken down into 5 segments, to which, of course, I will then go over, analyze, and tell you my thoughts about it. So, what is the Roswell incident? Well, it could be called the Roswell incident. It could be called the Roswell UFO incident. That thing that happened in 1947 that people can't seem to let go of. All that jazz. So without further ado, again, I always have to state this just because in case somebody who's not familiar with these videos, I am by no means a professional. I have these notes right here with me. So if you see me reverting to the side, don't be like, oh, he's not professional. Chill. I'm stating that I'm not. That's why I have these notes. With that being said, here is the Roswell incident. The Roswell incident is popular lore of rumor and speculation regarding a July 1947 U.S. Air Force balloon crash at a ranch in Roswell, New Mexico. Debris was gathered and it was also rumored that it came from a flying disc, UFO. The U.S. military said it was just a conventional weather balloon. So that's pretty much the rundown. Now, one thing you will hear me beat to death is the weather balloon theory, which is apparently something that the military and the government love to use as an excuse back in the day. They don't use it as much today, probably because we all know that, what is a weather balloon, right? So yeah. So once again, it's pretty much a rumor and speculation, like what happened? Something went down in 1947, and you know, we've been debating for years about what this could possibly be. So that brings me to my next statement. In the 1970s, ufologists promoted conspiracy theories, one that claims one or more alien ships crash landed and the aliens inside were taken by the military. Okay, so we're now 40, 50, 50, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60 to 60. So we're like 30 years later, and now people are still on the case about it. Lieutenant Colonel Jesse Marcel made a statement in 1947 about what he saw, which included tinfoil and rubber. He was later told to retract his statement and made a new one. He was then transferred a year later. So I actually didn't read this. I didn't read the whole he was told to retract his statement. I didn't just read that recently. I actually had come across that in one of the documentaries I watched. And Jesse Marcel is a big figure in certain documentaries. So I believe he was the man that he actually got a photo. He was kneeled down and they took a photo of him next to the tinfoil rubber debris, right? Nobody told him to do this. He did this because he felt like, okay, I'm going to get ahead of this. They're probably going to tell me to do this anyway. His bosses, his superiors, like the next day, what the hell did you do? Pretty much like retract your statement. So obviously they were keeping something from him. They knew more. They weren't going to bring him in on it. He then sort of like the next day, because they published it in the paper, excuse me. And basically what happened is the next day he retracted his statement. He went against everything that he had said the day before. So of course they then printed a retraction. But a lot of people just didn't really buy this retraction because they kind of sort of felt that there was sincerity in his voice, that there was the look about him like, hey, like, look at me, I'm with this UFO. I have no idea what it is, but I'm totally behind this. And then for him to just come out of nowhere the next day and be like, oh, I didn't really see this. What you saw me next to was just a weather balloon. Weather balloon. And yeah, so once again, it's the government and military's way of being like, you know what, you didn't really see anything. It was just a weather balloon. And our boy here will tell you that, you know. So, and another thing is the case followed him for years. So, no matter where Jesse Marcel was, he was always talked like even later in life as an old man, he was asked about 1947, the Roswell incident. And I guess according to his family, like he became it kind of sort of depended. Like later in life, he was just kind of sort of like he didn't really want to talk about it, and he just kind of sided with the government, which is kind of sad. Like maybe because he was just getting old by that point, he was just like, I want to put this behind me. Like this isn't who I am. This doesn't define me. William Brazil, a foreman, noticed debris 3 weeks before July 8th. He saw rubber strips, tinfoil, tough paper, and sticks. He also saw the then Sheriff Wilcox, whisper about a flying disc. So again, this was another person who claimed to see stuff. Something in the air, saw the crash, saw debris. He also heard somebody mention something about a flying disc. Now, I could get into a bunch of mumbo jumbo, a bunch of details, but it's not going to mean a lick of difference. So basically, I'm going to give you a rundown in 5 statements. You have the meat of the story. Something crashed. There was debris. The government and military kind of swept it under the rug, smoke screen. It's not what you think it is. This is what. And yeah, so I'm going to give you a rundown in 5 states. I believe 1, 2, 3, 5, and then I'm going to give you my opinion. The first one, it was a weather balloon. The second, it was a flying saucer. Third, there was an alien inside. 4, debris was not actually what was the debris was not actually what was described, and the government and military covered it up. So let's break down all of these. The first one, it was a weather balloon. Now, back in the 40s, apparently, even people in the 40s were skeptical about the weather balloon theory. The weather balloon theory or smokescreen is one of the stupidest excuses, at least personally, I think. Like, it wasn't a weather balloon. I wasn't there. I wasn't born in 1947. I was born 40 years later. But it wasn't a weather balloon. It wasn't. This excuse would be one of several throughout the next 50 to 60 years that the government would then use. Oh, it was a weather balloon. Anything that's in the sky, it was a weather balloon. Do you know how many people know what a weather balloon is today? I barely even know what a weather balloon is today. Like it's self-explanatory. It's a balloon that goes up in the air and you can tell the weather. But like in the 40s, people probably were like, "Well, what does that do?" You know, a weather balloon is like it's not that big. It looks nothing like a shiny silver object. Like what are we talking about here? Like a weather balloon is like if people are saying like rubber and tinfoil, I'm pretty sure that's not a weather balloon. Like, ugh, can we put that one to bed? It was a saucer. You know what? I think it was. One person said he saw a flying saucer. Another person said, "Hey, I heard a guy talking saying there was a flying disc." Like to me, like the debris looks more like a flying saucer than it would like a freaking weather balloon. The two are not the same. I don't get that. There was an alien inside. You know what? I believe in aliens. I'm gonna go on record and say I believe in aliens. I'm not sure if there was an alien inside this one, I mean, I would think there would need to be. I would need to see more people coming forward. I would need to see more, like, documents stating, like, people said, "Oh, I saw an alien being moved there." Like, okay. And obviously, to elaborate further, if there was an alien, the government and military snatched him up and probably sent him over to Area 51. I mean, obviously. The debris was not actually what was described. So you may have noticed in two descriptions, I said rubber and tinfoil. That's why I said to get your tinfoil hats ready. So obviously, there's more to an alien spaceship than just tinfoil. If anything, it's some kind of like alloy element that we have yet to describe or discover. But the thing that really kind of baffles me here is the debris was not actually what was described. So, like, you can see what they found, but that's just it. What if, like, when Jesse Marcel gets that picture done, right? What if people that were, like, driving by the scene looked inside and say they saw the same thing? They saw tinfoil, blah blah blah. But what if that was already a smokescreen? What if that was already a cover up? In other words, what if the military and government got there first, knew people were going to try to drive by and look inside and see it, so they decided to bring over rubber and tinfoil, thinking like, okay, we're going to say that it was a weather balloon, and a weather balloon looks like rubber and tinfoil. I don't really know. I think they probably found like metal, they probably found metal scraps, they probably found a whole bunch of weird stuff that you simply can't describe. Debris that's kind of like that show, that new show Debris. If anyone's watching that, if anyone isn't watching it, highly recommend it. But I think they find debris like that. And finally, the government and military covered it up. Of course they did. Of course they did. It's not a weather balloon. It was a flying saucer. Were there aliens inside? I really can't say one way or the other. But the government and military covered up because that's just what they do. And also maybe because back in 1947, society was not ready. It would have been mass hysteria. Can you imagine? Like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like, that was around the same time of War of the Worlds. So imagine, take that and then times that by like 150. So my closing thoughts on the Roswell incident. I don't think it was a weather balloon. I definitely think it was a flying saucer, a flying disc, or whatever you want to call it. It happened. The government and military covered it up. Do I think there was an alien inside? I honestly don't know. If I had to, my personal opinion, I think maybe there was. I really do. I think maybe there was some, yeah, I really do. And as for the debris, I mean, obviously, I think they covered that up too. I think they switched out the debris. So that way, anybody that was driving by, they missed, maybe the government and military got there at like 3 a.m., had plenty of time before they knew that traffic was going to start driving by, and boom, they just kind of covered it up and replaced it. This has been my video on the Roswell incident. Not as juicy as the others, but still solid. Nobody watched this video live, but you can certainly watch it on the playback. Uh, what are your thoughts on the Roswell incident? Do you think it was a weather balloon? Do you think it was a flying saucer? Do you think the aliens were inside it if it was a flying saucer? How much of how much of it do you think the government and military covered up? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, or feel free to reach out to me and we can discuss it. Tune in next week for a Mystery Unsolved special, in which this very episode will branch off into the special, as I will go deep into talking about Area 51. It's got to be special. I mean, if I'm doing Area 51, we're going all out. Better believe that. So yeah, for those that watch this on the playback, thank you for watching. And until next week.